Andrew Jordan, 23 years old, and I started racing when I was 14. My dad raced since he was 20 and actually met my mum when her dad raced. When I was 14, I went to him and asked if we could go and do, there was a British Junior Championship in Rallycross, which is a mixture of tarmac and dirt. Fortunate enough to be British champion, which is fantastic. And then we came on to the circuit racing, which is the British Touring Cars. And this is my 5th season in it now. I think it's in its 54th season now. So it's been going a fair while, and I've gone through lots of different eras and different styles of cars. Always been touring cars, saloon cars. In the past there's been lots of manufacturers in it, and it would be that if you were an independent team like ourselves, that there'd be no chance of competing for overall wins or overall championships. But now there's only a couple of manufacturers in it, and the rules are set out in a way that the independent teams like us can compete and take it to the bigger teams who are this year.
Jeff Smith, 46 years old. Met my wife when I was late teens. We went off kart racing at 26 years old. A few years ago we moved into touring cars, initially with the Vectra, and more recently, obviously this season, we've jumped into a Honda Civic.
Are you 3rd or 4th Gruppens?
The team is Eurotech Racing, which runs it on behalf of Pirtek Racing. My dad set that up about 25 years ago, which the team ran a lot of racing cars for him and run customer cars in different styles of racing.
Team Pirtek, headed up by Mike Jordan, Andrew's dad. It's a very, very close team, quite a small team, but very, very well managed.
There's about 4 or 5 people per car. Obviously we've got 2 cars, so over a weekend with a few added extras there's about 14 people. Each car will have an engineer, and then it will have 3 people on there, plus someone that's in charge of all the wheels and tyres.
Between the two of us we make a pretty reasonable team.
Oh, my mates, I've known Jack, my number 1, I've known him for I think 11 years. He started working for my dad when he was 16, he's now 26 or nearly 27 I think, so I've known him for a long time. So Adam, my engineer, is one of my best mates, is also my brother-in-law, so a bit different, so we get on very well, and I trust them and they trust me. And I think in some teams you can kind of get the atmosphere that to them it's just a job. These guys want to win as much as I do, so they put more than enough effort in to get the results we do.
I've come in as the second driver. My sponsor is ICD. The main team sponsor from Andrew's side is Pirtek.
Touring cars is, as I say, the premier championship in the country. It's sprint racing, so you have on a Sunday you have 3 25-minute races, 3 of those in the day. And if you ask anyone about touring cars, there's normally quite a bit of contact between the 2 cars. That's one what makes the TV viewing figures are huge. That's because the racing's so exciting, and because of all that, it makes it possible to get sponsors on board as an advertising opportunity with the TV package they've got. It's fantastic.
I'm the marketing manager for Pirtek UK, so I manage the sponsorship and the hospitality for the British touring cars. Because we get so much exposure from the racing, people automatically assume that is what Pirtek is, that it's a racing team. In actual fact, we're an emergency hose replacement service. So similar to the AA, we have a number of franchisees that are based all over the UK and Ireland. They will go out and form emergency hose replacements or repairs. 2010
they came on board as team sponsor, which is what they are now. It's the whole Pirtek Racing, the whole cars in their livery, the hospitality is all Pirtek Racing.
We get all of our branding on the car, as well as the lorry, the unit and everything else.
Pirtek's a massive help to us going racing. Obviously we can't do it without them. Put a lot of time and money into us, and hopefully we're paying them back by showing them how good the car looks and how quick it is. Andrew's doing a good job driving it. So
Steve Maguire from Pirtek in Nottingham and Mansfield. We're a 6-van centre. I do think that the distinctive car, especially now under the banner of Pirtek Racing, really does make the car stand out, and the exposure on TV, I think that brings a lot of interest into Pirtek.
We're signed up already for 2013, so that'll be our 4th year of being successive Pirtek Racing, with them being outright sponsors. It's really nice to see it growing as a sponsorship and a partnership that is getting bigger and bigger each year. think some people probably come to the racing on the Sunday and just think it's all like this anyway. Actually, us as a team and the hospitality unit comes here on a Thursday, starts as nothing, and then we as a team have to lay the carpet down in the garage, set all the garage display boards.
Usually on a Thursday the hospitality unit will arrive. There are a team of 5 guys that will pretty much put that up from start to finish. We get given our spot and allocation on where we're going to be placed. Slowly throughout that day start to offload all of the components that build this unit. All the flooring goes down, the awning starts to go up and go together. In the meantime, the team will have arrived with all of the partitions and everything. Unloading the cars, they go into the garage and they'll do whatever work needs to be done with the cars.
Everything out the truck, get the truck washed, getting everything looking immaculate, because image is a huge part of this sport as well. The same with the hospitality unit. That comes here on a Thursday lunchtime, everything gets clean, set up, so it looks pristine for when the guests arrive. It's a lot of work, probably more than people would imagine goes into it to get it looking like this.
Build will carry on with the hospitality unit. I typically arrive on a Friday, and I will then start, once the unit's all put together, I then start to add the finishing touches, make sure all the coffee pots and everything are out, make sure all that's set up, everything's working properly. Making sure that the merchandise stand is up. All the things that really are more linked with the guest, making sure that they have a good day. And we decided that because Andrew's profile was getting much bigger throughout the season, that we wanted to do something much bigger and better for touring cars, and also something that would give more of a hospitality package to our centre so that they could bring their customers along. So we came to have a look at the unit that we have now. Straight away I think we decided within seconds of seeing it that this was the unit that we wanted to have. This works perfectly for us because we've got the facilities to be able to offer food to the guests, and also the space obviously to be able to accommodate the numbers that the franchisees wanted.
One of my guests today took one look at it and said, "This is a fantastic setup you've got here." So I think that counts for a lot.
Before the meeting even starts, and pretty much immediately after the last meeting, the guys, the 2 Adams, will be looking at data, analysing where we could have gained a little bit from the previous meeting, and looking at the car setup and taking into account where we're going to.
Before a weekend, I end up creating a setup sheet which I issue to the mechanics, and they basically build the car to that sheet.
They might be looking at comparison of corners and where we can find a little bit of something extra basically when we go to the next circuit. So that happens virtually straight away on the Monday. They're looking at those sort of things.
Basically, after a race weekend, set the cars up at work. We've got a flat floor at work. Pull the cars apart, completely strip them, engine, gearbox, all the corners come off. Basically, just look around it and make sure everything's all right. We then come to the circuit here. We'll do set up another flat floor and double check all that. Fine tune the cars and get as much as we can out of them.
Those guys from an engineering side or a data side of things are looking at that immediately we finished a meeting. And then we come into the race weekend. The guys are getting here on a Thursday. They'll go and do a shakedown on a Thursday.
We go to a shakedown, which is just a check. You go to it's a proving ground, so there's not any circuits there, but you can check everything's okay. Because the cars come apart so much, it's not a case of just kind of cleaning them and sending them to the next race. They're completely stripped down, and it's only really the interior that's left together. Everything on the outside's taken off it and checked for cracks or for kind of fretting marks or anything like that.
During shakedown they'll bed brakes. They'll perhaps do 2 or 3 sets of brakes ready for the race weekend.
With the new brakes you can't just put them on and they'll be there straight away. You've got to bed them in, which kind of brings the two materials together, so then you've got the best friction possible.
Back at the unit they'll reset the cars back up here so that they've got the same setup levels and the setup patches exactly right for the car.
Obviously it's the new NGTC cars, so you've got quite a lot of areas of freedom for setup. The obvious ones are your camber, tracking, so your toe-ins, toe-outs, your spring rates, your anti-roll bar rates, your damper clicks, your geometry, which can include getting your rear wheels to steer and things like that. So there's quite a lot of freedom with regards to that, even with the new regulations.
The main bit starts on Saturday with a free practice session, normally about 9:30 in the morning. First chance really you get to see of how your weekend's going to maybe go pace-wise.
The guys will then start and look at what different things we're going to try in free practice 1. Generally for me, free practice 1 consists of a reasonable bit of a run and just get into the circuit and get a feel for what's going on.
In free practice 1 you'll do a race run, which is just replicating a race really. So you'll go, say around here if it's 25 laps, you do a 25 lap run to see how the car deteriorates and how the tyres last. Try a few things with the car to improve it, and some obviously make it worse, but you've got to try them to see if they'll make an improvement.
It might be that I feel the car's absolutely spot on, what they give them is really good. We'll still work through changes because it may be that we find a little gain.
There's certain things you're going to try, certain things that you think are going to work on the car that you want to try in a session rather than a race.
Free practice 2, we're tending to look to try and get the ultimate setup for qualifying, ultimate speed, to try and get a fast lap for qualifying.
Then free practice 2, brand new tyres on, we'll put our qualifying setup on, which again is a bit more aggressive, whereas I said the race setup or the race run you have to conserve your tyres. The driving side is very aggressive just to get that 1 or 2 lap speed out of the car and out of the driver. So we'll do that in free practice 2 and see what the data looks like and how I've performed and how the car's performed.
We basically get all the data through the car. The car has a lot of sensors on it, so basically Adam on his computer tracks the car around the circuit, gets a big map, and then he can see then what the car's doing here. He gets a lot of that then on the laptop and he can go through it then with Android.
Crisp reality, the maze of data filaments, the horizontal and the vertical.
Communication's pretty key. During a session we have the radio headsets where he's plugged in with his helmet, so he can talk to me and I can talk to him. It's quite key to feed him with as much information as he can take on board. So I'll talk to him ideally when he's just coming out of the slow corner, and you don't want to be talking to him just as he's about to hit the brakes.
With the radio communications, Adam's very good at that because he picks and chooses moments very carefully. The most annoying thing that anyone can do is when you're just turning into a corner, a very high speed corner, you speak on the radio. Adam's very good. He looks at kind of the sector times on the lap which come up on the TV screen. He can see where I am on the circuit and talk to me on a straight, which is absolutely fine. So he's very good at that.
And then when he comes in, I try and get him to debrief as briefly as possible, like the main areas where we're struggling on the in-lap, so it gives me a bit of time to think before he comes in and sort of at my toes.
But equally, we kind of make it very brief. You don't want to be chatting for long because obviously you're then getting ready for the next corner. So it's really nice and important to have someone you get on with one on the radio, but equally that you both understand each other and have a good working relationship.
Obviously I've got to relay what I think I need to do to my mechanics, and it's got to be quite clear and quite quick for those guys to get on with the job. The last thing you want is to be chatting away with Andy for 2 minutes in the pit lane and the guys on the car are just stood there doing nothing. So try and give them stuff to do as quickly as possible. Ready for a session, you can see we've got the live timing. This is another session that's on at the minute. It'll come up purple if you're fastest of anyone. Driver always wants to know where he's losing times. This is basically a driver comparison. So you've got your speed trace, which is this one. This one's your steering trace. This one's your RPMs. And you here that have the brake trace. And then through the middle, you have a time loss. So they're the sort of things that I tell the driver in the session where he needs to improve. I can tell him you need to be braking 5 metres later, or you need to be not as hard on the brakes, you need to carry more speed through the corners, etc.
You'll make little notes of each corner, you put what you need to make it better and just some general notes, and you do this for each run of the car and of the session just to try and give Adam some feedback. But equally so I keep them all from each race. There's lots of variables on the car to change, so as much info as you can save from previous times you've changed it, the better and the easier it'll make it.
So that's the stuff I'm going through between sessions and after, trying to give Andrew driving tips and I'm trying to look at ways to make the car go faster. I'll give the instructions to the mechanics to go and change the car.
First 2 sessions are all about basically getting as much as we can out before qualifying. Make sure there's no problems with the car. Andrew and Adam will be discussing on the radio what sort of changes they want to do to the car, and then they tell me, Ryan and Ben, to get on with that and change little bits here and there.
More than one car in the team is better because you've got data to compare, so I can compare to Jeff and Jeff can compare to me on the data. Equally we get Honda's data and they get ours. It's great for me as a driver to have 3 other people's that you can look at and see their different techniques with different corners.
Between us we've got a good database we can look at, and so we're building a big library of changes.
Obviously the tyres are critical, so it's coming up with the tyre pressures and a tyre plan. 18 new tyres for race weekend and 6 carryover tyres. The pressures are key, so they need to come in at a specific hot pressure, so we always set them cold. There's no tyre warmers or anything like that, so they go out cold. Obviously with a front wheel drive car, that's fine for your front wheels, but you need to try and generate some heat into the rear.
On a front wheel drive car it's very hard to get tyre temperature. When they're cold obviously they don't give off the grip, so you'll go out and it's much easier to get heat into the tyres on the front. So what we'll do, we'll go out actually with our rear tyres on the front. 1 or 2 laps will come in, put those tyres off the front which are then for the rear. The ones that were on the rear onto the front which are now cold, you can then go and it gives you the more rear grip.
Obviously you don't want to go around with no tyre temperature in the rear or you'll end up spinning.
It takes a little bit of time, but then when you've got it on, it then makes your performance, one, you can go and hit a lap time much easier and much quicker, but it gives off better grip for the rear of the car.
I'm Paul, I look after all the tyres, help with the tyre team on the 2 cars. We set the pressures up at the start of the weekend. Because air can be unstable, we actually, when the tyres come from Dunlop, when they're all fitted on from Dunlop, they come with air. We actually bleed them out, bleed all the air out, fill them with nitrogen. This gives the air more stability and a better reading, so the tyres more stable for the driver when they're driving around the circuit. Ideally, we'd record where each tyre is and what position it's been in on the car and how many laps each tyre's done. With the team we've got Sam, Jerry, they're currently washing the tyres, and we've got Mick and Neil who are helping out, currently scraping all the pickup off the tyres. The tyres have obtained as the drivers have driven the cars around the track, so when we go racing tomorrow the tyres are all fresh and as new as they can be to give the drivers a better chance of grip for when they're out on the circuit.
qualifying, it's a half an hour session. You normally do 3 runs, so you'll have 3 sets of tyres and you'll do about 2 or 3 laps on each of those, so you get 3 runs driving as quick as you can on new tyres, which is when the car's always at its best. You have to start on a kind of 45-degree angle outside the pits, and that's just the way the championship says it's got to be. I think it looks very smart, and then the championship leader then goes out and your pits are all allocated in championship order.
Qualifying is quite important. That's why we do a lot of work in the free practices. It's not often we do change in qualifying, we usually just do new tyre runs.
Qualifying is pretty intense. Hopefully we've found where we need to be in free practice 2 for qualifying. You need to be relaxed and not overdrive the car, and just get the very best out of the extra rubber that you've been given.
Obviously, whoever gets the quickest time is at the front, and ideally that's where you want to be, because come first race, everyone's maybe a bit anxious to get going, and you don't want to be mid-pack because that's where all the carnage sort of happens.
Nice session for a driver, very tense, because obviously that then starts your race day. So where you qualify, you start your first race. If you qualify really far down, it means you're going to have quite a long Sunday, but if you qualify up at the front, it makes maybe the Sunday that little bit easier. So it's all pretty stripped out and nothing like a road car really. It's one seat. The steering wheel here, it's got quite a few switches because you can. That's a little mental note to myself. Just before I'm going on a qualifying lap. So as I said, a race tech seat, then I've got a moulded seat insert. So you know, any seat can't kind of grab you where you need to sometimes. So this is kind of a real personal thing, and so you spend probably about a day with a professional getting this all moulded to you in exactly the right position. Then they send it off and cover it, so once you're in there really you can't move around, and I'm a bit of a fidget, so it keeps me still in the pit lane when the guys are working. And then you've got here, so you've got flash that's marked up as, so that's just a light flasher. So if you're coming up in qualifying or a race on a slower car, you press that and it flashes the lights probably about 10 times. This orange button here is for line lock from the start, especially if you're on a hill start. You build some brake pressure, so you press the brake pedal as hard as you can, press that button, come off the brake pedal, and then that holds the brake on. So when you want to start, you then let that go and that releases the brake. So it's just stop you rolling really, because obviously on the start you have quite a few revs on it, so the vibrations through the car can tend to start the car rolling. So that just holds that still. Yellow one is the radio, so that's for me to talk to the team, talk. And then the red one here, pit lane speed limiter. So obviously I think it's 40 mile an hour, which is about 68 kilometres an hour. Press that and you can do whatever you want with the throttle, it will hold it at that speed. If you go over, you normally get a warning or then a penalty if you do it again. Here's dash, so that goes with the different settings we've got on the dashboard, different pages. There's kind of warm-up page for the mechanics, to the guys to look at and check that everything's working alright there. And I'll jump in and show you what we've got in here. It's a bit hard to get in, it's quite tight, so. And once you're in at that. And steering wheel on a quick release, so slide that back on. Gear stick, but flat shift sequential, so I can just keep my foot completely flat on the floor and just pull that, and that selects a gear. And again, as I said, no clutch on the way down, just left foot brake and push it down. And then lots of switches up here. We've got your normal indicator lights, rain light, windscreen wipers, different settings for that, fuel pumps, your power steering, your light settings, your rain light, a reset button there, screen blower, your heated screen, your ignition, your start. So there's lots going on there. But to be honest, once you go in, you only really use a few of those. And up here you've got the shift lights. They'll go from green all the way up to red, and then as the red one goes on, you pull a gear. And we've got one brake bias adjuster here, which you can turn this. The brake bias is obviously the front of the brakes on the front of these cars are a lot bigger than the rear, so the front is a lot more for slowing down. So you can change the proportion of if that's split front to rear. You can do it there, which is for more sensitive adjustments. We can do it there for which is bigger adjustments. So say if it's in a wet race. And on the dashboard you've got your engine oil pressure, your battery voltage, your speed, or if you're stopped for the start, throttle percentage, your gear and the revs, oil temperature and water temperature. So it's all pretty straightforward on there. But to be honest, once you're going, that's on the static page. Once you're going, then you'll have the lap time across the bottom. That's obviously activated each time you go across the finish line. Your gear, and that's all about that you use really. Obviously you keep an eye on your oil and water temperatures pretty much. Nice big mirror. The touring car is very close racing, so it's important to see what's going on behind, especially throughout the front. And that's about it really. It was quite a busy cockpit, but once you get used to it, it's all at home really.
On race day itself, come 10 o'clock Sunday morning, when the guests start to arrive, we've got everything literally ready. They can have a coffee as soon as they come in. They can sit down and relax until the race starts. They don't really have to worry about anything else because it's all here, and they don't need to go out and buy coffee and food and things like that. The aim is to make sure that everyone's taken care of within the unit. You'll get some guests that come in that pretty much know the protocol, know how the day's going to work, and you don't really have to sort of go through much with them and explain, and then you've got others that you have to sort of step by step tell them what happens throughout the day.
Richard, we wouldn't do that, would we? Patrick.
Some people are very excited because they've never really been to an event like this before. They've seen it on television, but they don't really know what to expect.
Okay, all right, have a good
We
day.
we try and keep the day interesting because sometimes the time between each race can be quite long, especially if it's really bad weather, which it tends to be at a circuit because they're quite exposed. So we put together garage tours. We usually do 4 or 5 in a day. It just really depends on what the timetable's like.
So my name's James Appleby. I do the Pirtek Racing Garage Tours. I've known Andy since 2008 when I raced in a support package in the Touring Car Championship. Tammy at Pirtek needed someone to do the garage tours with someone with a bit of knowledge. I sort of stepped in when she needed me at Brands Hatch for the first round, and she was like, right, we'll run this as a tester. And then it's just snowballed from there really, and now I think we're looking to evolve the garage tours into something a bit more serious for next year. We usually run about 4 garage tours a day, and we do that with probably about 30 people, depending on the amount of guests for the day, about 30 people a day, just because it's really quite busy in the garage. The guys working on the cars, we don't really want to get in their way, because obviously the guys out on track, that's the most important thing, to have the cars right, and the garage tours are an extra for the guests to get involved with.
So James will typically do the garage tour for about 15 to 20 minutes depending on how many guests there are. They then get an opportunity to take pictures of the car, and if the driver's around and the mechanics and things like that, they can take pictures of the mechanics as well.
It's quite difficult to sort of ascertain how complex and in-depth the cars are manufactured to quite a high engineering level. So it's really nice to get the guests in there and just sort of see things and like get them in the cars, having a look around the cars, sort of in the nuts and bolts, and how does the thing actually work and function. Road shells, take it from a road Honda Civic. So by coming on the garage tours, really, you get an in-depth look at just not just the sort of Andrew Jordan and Jeff Smith of the team. You get to meet everyone from the #1 mechanics, the tyre guys, which really sort of gives you an appreciation of that team sort of ethos.
If you came as a general ticket holder just paying a gate fee, you wouldn't get that exposure and be allowed into the garage and have that access.
So this is the Pirtek Racing race truck. The 2 cars are loaded up in the top of the unit, and they're loaded in by a big tail lift that comes down the back. Inside the truck here you can see we've got all the racks here of all the different spares they're going to need. All the smaller stuff goes in here, and they've got a bigger truck outside for all the bulky items. So in here you've got all your drive shafts, brake discs, and then all your air jacks and different things and batteries. You look into the front here, there's an engineering office where the guys pre and post session go in and do an engineering sort of debrief and how they can improve the car. This is where all the proper hard work goes on, and all the guys prep the tyres in between sessions ready for the next race. The NGTC cars use 18-inch slicks, and you get, with your allocation, you get a barcoded tyre. Now that corresponds with a microchip there, and then that also corresponds with a data number on the car, and then those are checked between every session as the car comes into the pit lane. So we're in the front of the garage here now, where both cars are in, got all the toolboxes and all the guys working on the car, and as you can see, it goes straight out onto pit lane and then end of the pit lane straight onto the track. The Honda Civics are a 2-litre 4-cylinder turbocharged engine, roughly 340 brake horsepower, front wheel drive with a 6-speed sequential gearbox. So literally just pull the gear lever towards you to change up, push it away from you to change down. Where here we've got the Neil Brown Engineering race-tuned Honda Civic engine. Now this engine puts out about 340 brake horsepower, turbocharged, so you see the size of the turbo is a lot bigger than you'd get on your standard road car. You've then got all the air intakes and the air filter and stuff all in the front here. Now with the fuel cell being one of the heaviest parts of the car, as well as the driver and the engine in the front, you want to keep that in the centre of the car as much as possible and as low down as possible. In the back here you've also got the rear subframe, and then that's all joined into the roll cage to give it really good strong rigidity in the chassis.
So we also offer grid walks, and we take 10 guests onto the grid at a time. The grid girls will already be on the grid when we arrive. One at a time we bring the guests over and we take their picture with the grid girl, and then when the cars arrive we also then call the guests across again and we take a picture with them, with the grid girl and the car behind them. Just a nice keepsake to have of a day that, you know, they might not have again. And we do let everyone know as they have their picture taken that we have got the Facebook page, and obviously that the pictures will be loaded onto there.
Hi, I'm Hayley and I'm grid girl for Jeff Smith.
Hi, I'm Danielle and I'm Andrew's grid girl. We actually have to stand on the grid and wait for the cars to actually drive up so they know where they're going. It's a vital part for them to know where, to look on at the map. We're almost like the map, aren't we?
Public come on for their grid walk, so they get to have a walk around, and then we have lots of photos taken.
Yes, lots and lots of photos.
I think a lot of grid girls are like really into their motorsports.
Yes,
so we're
like we grew up like watching MotoGP, like
families are into it.
Hi, my name's Gareth Thompson, this is my dad Raymond Thompson. Today we've come to Silverstone for the Pirtek hospitality because we really enjoyed it at Snetterton, so we came back for a second time. The grid walk, and we got on to the grid, we had to wait a little while till the cars assembled, then we got our picture with the grid girl, and then we got our picture with the grid girl and the car behind us.
Obviously look forward to the garage tour and obviously the pit walk as well. I mean that is something that I think people find quite special.
I just think that the way the day is organised is absolutely brilliant. The fact that you get a grid walk is an absolute bonus. The garage tour is a bonus again. Like a money couldn't buy opportunity really to see behind the scenes, and you would never get that in any other motorsport.
British touring cars has the biggest fan following in motorsport in the UK and arguably in Europe as well. Obviously it seems like NASCAR in America, which is huge, but the population in America is a lot bigger anyway. So you know, in Europe this is one of the biggest motorsport series there is. And so, you know, they all come for a good day out and they all want to get their autographs and photos.
Thank you very much. Good luck.
That's called Pit Lane Walkabout. So basically, like Andrew and Jeff's fans, and obviously the other race drivers' fans, get photos, signatures.
Yeah. The guys sign posters. We're handing out posters. Fans love it. The fans love that.
Yeah, it's like one of the favourite parts of the day, isn't it? Quite fun and chilled, relaxed.
Later in the afternoon we usually do a driver's interview, so the drivers will come over to the hospitality unit and they'll just do an interview and talk about how they think the day's gone so far.
So you're having a good day, yeah? Well, I'll talk you through the weekend and what we do and what we try and achieve on the Saturday, and then talk you how today's gone.
Anything that has happened on the circuit that they might want to talk about, if there have been any accidents or, you know, any sort of dramas, they'll talk through those, and then the guests get the opportunity to ask the drivers questions.
Chris, my number one, and Craig, number two, done an absolute sterling job. Can't believe it. With that sort of damage, then just testament to the car really, and the safety devices we use now.
After we've done that, we usually do an autograph and picture session where the guests can get autographs from the drivers and then get their picture taken with the drivers. So that's usually quite a nice end to the day just before the final race.
Probably when I was a bit younger I started out and I was in touring cars, and because I was getting so stressed, as I said earlier, about when you're a bit younger, focusing so much on driving the car, probably wasn't as kind of fan friendly as I should have been. Now as I'm becoming more experienced and getting a bit older and stuff like that, they've come for a good day out. So me as a driver and as a team, we need to try and help that experience so they can go away thinking, he's a nice guy, that was a nice team. And Pirtek Racing now is getting a huge following. The amount of merchandise you see at the circuit being sold and the amount of merchandise or Pirtek Racing gear that you see people wearing, it's great to see, and it's really nice for us as a team and me as a driver to see that you've got those fans kind of following you and wanting to do well. Yeah, I'm fine. It's a very busy day, busy Sunday. It's normally quite a late start. We normally don't race till about 11:30, 12, so then you've got to get 3 races in before kind of 5:30. So it's a very busy afternoon.
Race 1 is sort of mid to late morning. Keep the locals all happy with keeping the noise down early in the morning on a Sunday, and then it's a full-on day.
There's 3 races to make it a more exciting day for the fans coming to watch, really. In British touring cars they used to do it that they used to have 2 races. One would be a sprint race and one would be a longer race with a pit stop. The problem with kind of longer races and pit stops, it sometimes can get a bit drawn out. Having 3 sprint races, it makes it that bit more exciting for the people watching. It makes it a bit harder probably for the guys on the team. It gives it less time for them to work on the car before each race.
Generally I go home on a Sunday night with a banging headache. So yeah, that's our weekend.
The team are always on really good form on race day. I think it's a lot of pressure for them because obviously they've got the sponsors here, they've got a lot of guests here, and they know that at the end of the day, everyone wants to see their team win. It's always very exciting when the race is happening and either Andrew or Jeff, at the front, people are shouting and jumping around and screaming at the television if they happen to be in the hospitality unit. And then at the same time, if we have a bad day, everyone feels it. It's disappointment all round. But generally, people really enjoy the day. It's the excitement of being a part of this and having the exposure and getting so close to the drivers and the cars and everything else.
You should